We touched on this a bit yesterday, but I do want to dig into Ben Simmons and the Sixers. He was not the player the Sixers needed him to be against the Hawks. I'm just going to put it that way. And Woj reported yesterday Ben's agent, Rich Paul, engaged Philadelphia on whether it makes sense to find a trade before the start of the season. Now, Woj was very clear. He did not request a trade. It was just a conversation of, hey, we all have this player's interest in mind. What should we be talking about right now? Simmons is owed $147 million over the next 4 years. Richard, Daryl Morey has come out and said, we are keeping Ben Simmons. Do you think that makes sense for them? Or do you think a change of scenery would be good, maybe not even for the Sixers, but Ben Simmons?
Well, I think sometimes you can see a GM doing that to make it so it's not a fire sale.
Yes,
if everyone's, we're moving on.
Well,
and we
no,
gotta
I mean, yes, that's what Daryl should say.
Daryl should say that. So let's people say, well, Daryl Morey didn't say he was like, look, you do that to kind of stop the market from crashing on the players. Like, no, we love them, we want to grow from them. I think it's time for them to move on. From my sense is that if you can't handle that pressure in the second round, if you're in that moment, but you have Joel Embiid, who's an MVP caliber player, and you're trying to win championships. So you have to make evaluations every single day. Is this player going to help us get closer or further away from a championship? Not 50 wins, not division titles, no, like a championship. And I think that's where Ben Simmons, if he's not going to improve, this is not a Philadelphia 76er or like Ben Simmons problems. This is just a Ben Simmons problem, and they need to move on.
Well, I don't think it's about him improving, because I don't think he's a guy that's going to be able to knock down jump shots consistently or even knock down jump shots, period. He is a guy that's just out of position. He is a power forward. He's a center-type player. And him and Joel Embiid is just in each other's way. If you go back and look at the games when Joel Embiid didn't play, Ben Simmons went off. He even dropped 40 on Utah. In Utah, you know, and Joel was not there. I mean, he had multiple 20-plus games. I think it's time for him to move on. I think they should move him on to a situation where he could be used like a Sabonis, a guy that could initiate the offense, dribble handoff, roll to the basket, has a big that loves to float around the three-point line like Miles Turner, Karl Anthony Towns, and then have him playing in the paint. I mean, it just came to the conclusion that they don't fit. They don't fit.
Okay, but here's where I think you got to make the distinction. First of all, just saying trade someone to trade someone, I don't think it's an untenable situation, especially in the regular season. In the regular season, it worked, right? We all were like, oh, they got the #1 seed. Ben had Defensive Player of the Year consideration. You can't pretend that this wasn't a good regular season for the Sixers. And by the way, the partnership between them, yes, they occupy much of the same space, but you put enough shooters around them. We have seen that work in multiple stretches of when Ben has been with the Sixers. That being said, if there is a guy available soon, and you can make a deal that's good, like, say, when James Harden suddenly decides he wants to be traded from Houston, I have been very vocal. I would have tried everything I could to make that deal because Ben Simmons' value was high then, and he would also be trying to keep James Harden away from Brooklyn, which, if you play in the Eastern Conference, very important. That being said, right now, his value is much lower. And after this performance, I don't think they will ever get value for him. So I would say build him back up during the regular season, build his trade value back up, and maybe trade him at the deadline.
Yeah, but Rachel, here's the problem. When him and Joel is on the floor together in the regular season, I watched this throughout the course of this season. He loses his confidence. Why? Because he's not getting touches. So go look. He was still averaging 5 points and 9 points and 8 points throughout the regular season because they were going through Seth Curry, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris. That's why Ben Simmons locked in on the defensive end. And then when time came in the playoffs for him to contribute, he couldn't even make a layup because he didn't develop that confidence throughout the regular season.
Well, yes, I do think one of the main things they have to work on this summer to either make him better for their team or to get his trade value up, either one, is he cannot be scared of contact going in the fourth quarter to hit foul shots. Because if that was fixed, if that one thing was fixed, if he could hit free throws and wasn't scared to be put in the position of hitting free throws.
Okay, but really quickly.
They would have won some of those games.
Yes. How many years have we been talking about that for Ben Simmons?
I agree.
So now, if a guy's been in the league 5 years now, 6 years, and we've been talking about it for the last 3 or 4.
You think it's just never going to happen?
I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but we can't assume that us sitting up here saying they need to build up his confidence or he needs to improve his shot. He's been hearing that for 3 years. And for 3 years, we end up saying the same thing. So
Yeah, but RJ, we've been saying the same thing about his shooting. We never said anything about him finishing around the basket.
Well, he's not.
He struggled with finishing around the
But
basket.
that was a fear of free throws, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. He didn't. You don't. He's so big and strong. Like, that's the one thing about Giannis, or even guys like Shaq that are high-level players. They don't care. Give me 25 free throws. I'll make 13 of them, but I'm going to get my 25.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.